Alex, I've been following you for a few years. I can talk more about this when we get going, but I started trading a few years ago and I found like you and I found Ross, and those were pretty much like the two channels that I like to watch. So
That's
it's
so
kind of hard
crazy.
to get at this point. Yeah.
That's so crazy. How like yeah, because when I started, I remember I was doing my road trip in Germany, in Europe
hmm
and parts of Africa. And then on the road trip, I started like watching parts of Ross. But then it wasn't until like maybe 2 years later where I kind of started trading again, because I traded a bit in New York City. And a lot of what I'm
Yeah.
doing is based on Ross's, momentum, top
Yeah.
gainers strategy. And I think we're all basically trading the same strategy here. So it's really funny that you saw both of us at the time, and
Mhm.
yeah, you're still watching both of us. Although I'm not doing any live trading or anything like that anymore, but
Yeah.
we're
Yeah. It's
still
just
all,
funny how it happens.
yeah, it really is super cool. I guess we could probably just start the podcast a little. I guess the official, but I guess for anyone that doesn't know, because I do know people know who you are in the Discord to some extent. You've been posting P&Ls, and that's actually how we got started in a way where I saw one of your P&Ls, and because you're an active user, you're posting your P&Ls, and I was like, dang, these
Right.
are looking really good. But I was actually curious, how come you're posting like TraderView, for example, and not TradeJournal? Not that it really mattered. I was just curious if we were
Yeah.
missing something. Like, are we missing some feature? But anyway, long story short, I figured out you were a warrior trading mentor, and you were on a recent podcast with Ross. And it was so funny because that's when it like instantly clicked, where I was like, oh,
hmm
I know that you shared it with me, but I've already seen it. Let me actually
hmm
see if I could just pull it up, share screen.
Yeah.
Um,
I knew you had seen it and just hadn't made the connection.
yeah, let's see,
By
where
the
am
way,
I
are
right?
we streaming live to anything?
No, we're not streaming live to
Okay,
anything.
just
It's
recording.
yeah, just recording. Um, One sec. Sorry, I'm a little slow right now. Usually I'll have this up beforehand, but you know how it goes sometimes. Yeah, so there's this one. I do want to just share it with everyone just so they know, and I'll link it somewhere. Share screen, advance. So with Zoom, I got to make sure I'm actually sharing the whole entire window. So this is the podcast
Yeah,
that,
there you go.
well, I'm not sure if you want to call it a podcast or anything like that, but it's basically just the chat you guys were on. And this is why I was like, why is it, Danny sounds so familiar? It was, you were in this video, and really nice podcast. I think it was like State of the Union,
Mhm.
which is basically, what's going, or state of the market, what's going on in the market, and how is everyone starting and adjusting to everything going forward. You were talking about how in 2022 it was a little wishy-washy year for you. You were sticking around
Yeah.
very long, but it was kind of tough. And this year you've been really hitting the ground running, which is nice to hear, because I feel like I've been a bit the opposite, where like 2022 was maybe not the best year for me, but I was like consistent. This year
Mhm.
so far, I've been doing some of my worst trading ever. But um, anyway, I don't want to, talk too much. I'm curious to hear a little bit more about you. Of, how long have you been trading? When did you join our community? And where are you located?
Yeah.
What's your like main strategy? Anything you want to
Yeah.
share with the community to get, I guess, everyone up to speed, including myself.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Happy to. So yeah, that was a fun little State of the Union little video that we did the other month there.
Yeah.
I'll talk about 2022 and how I've been doing this year. But before I get into that, yeah, so I started trading January of 2020. I left my last full-time job in 2018. And I started working with my dad, actually. He owns a supply chain consulting business. And we'd been working together for a little while. It's good work, and I still work with him, and we're actually pretty busy right now. But at the time, it was a little bit slow, and I really kind of needed another source of income. So it's funny how it happened. I'm pretty sure this entire journey happened because YouTube recommended like a day trading video to me. And
Yeah. Yeah.
one of my roommates in college did some trading. He didn't really day trade. He did short-term swing trades, but I had been aware of it and sort of interested in it for a few years at least. And so that video kind of popped up at the right time, and I was like, I'll kind of look into this. And I opened an account with TD Ameritrade with $500 in it. I started trading pretty much right away. Really tiny share size, and made plenty of mistakes. I didn't know that you could get a simulator to start trading and not lose your own money to start out and all of that kind of stuff. But I was watching you, I was watching Ross, I was watching another guy on YouTube, and I was just absorbing all of the information I possibly could. And it took 6 months for me to go from my starting point through my drawdown and back up to zero, and then into starting to become profitable.
Well, that's a good duration. That's
yeah,
quick.
not bad. Making that first dollar and then beyond, didn't look back. So that was my first 6 months or so. I maybe I got kind of lucky with the timing and all of that. I did decently well on Tesla around that same time. That was when it was just like going straight up. But I had always told myself that I wanted to buy into Warrior Trading and become a member there and access the classes and like officially educate myself when I could.
Yeah.
When I started trading, I didn't have the disposable income to be able to do that. It's not cheap, but it is a lot of quality content. So finally, coming into the end of 2021, I had made a decent chunk out of the market, and Ross had announced that he was going to start reteaching all of the classes live, winter school 2021, starting in January. So finally I became a member there and got into the community, all of that. Started doing pretty well with it. Ross interviewed me at one point, like probably March 2021, something like that. So that was the first time that I met and like had a conversation with Ross, which was really cool.
Oh, yeah.
And then it must have been just a few months later, I think, that they invited me to become one of their mentors. So that is mainly my journey through that kind of like first half of my trading career. So I've been trading for just over 3 years now. I'm located in Berkeley, California, so I'm in the Bay Area. I wake up early for the market open.
Yeah, early morning.
Yeah, I don't get up too early though. I know a lot of people, they'll get up at like 5 a.m. and be ready for any move that happens. I'm not so into that, because especially right now with the market being pretty cold, it's like I could wake up at 5 a.m. Maybe we'll find a move one morning. Maybe I'll just be up at 5 a.m. sitting on my hands another morning. I swam in college and through high school and all of that. So I've had plenty of early mornings. So at this point, I'm like, I'll get up at 6. I'll be ready for market open. But yeah, that's pretty much how I start my day. As far as trading styles, I trade momentum. I trade breakouts, I trade trends, but we can get more into details on like my strategy and what's been keeping me safe. I think a good point to make would be 2022, like we were just talking about. 2022 was really a bad year for me. I made about 10% last year that I did the year before.
Yeah.
And by the end of the year, I was like, I just don't want to be a red on the year. And like, at least I've made something compared to SPY, which was down like 30% on the year. So
yeah, that's good perspective. Yeah.
I was trying to keep it in perspective, even though like day trading, a decent day, you're making what you would make in the SPY in a year in that one day.
Yeah.
So it's hard to make that comparison, but I was just trying to make myself feel better. So Yeah, last year was tough, but I think that sometimes those periods are kind of necessary to figure out like where are you going wrong? What's happening? What do I need to change with my trading and get better at and get to the next level or start seeing better results where I want to be. So I took a lot away from it that I've been applying this year, and it's been working out well for me.
Yeah, I think every trader is going to have those lull phase. I mean, just statistically speaking, it's going to happen. I think one of my first lull phases was like this 2-month phase in 2020. It was like March to April, maybe into May. I just had like 2.5 months of just flat, and I thought that was like really frustrating because like you show up every day and
Right.
then nothing happens, or you make 500 and then the next day you give back 500, and then you do that for 2 months and you kind of go a little bit crazy. I've been in that same situation now for almost 4 months where I'm just up slightly. And we've been having some decent action occasionally, but I've been really tripping over myself by trying to hold longer. So I've been having this kind of 2 strategy, and I always talk against doing 2 strategies at once. Like you only want to focus on one thing. So yeah, I figured, oh, okay, well, I fully understand the front side momentum now. Let me try to throw on a second strategy where, on a different portfolio in my TD Ameritrade account, even though it's kind of all still in the same screen, let me try to hold some positions longer. And then, that position would be red, and that would emotionally mess me up on the day trading. And I think it's been really throwing me off. So how do you go about, do you only do one strategy, or are you trying to do multiple? Or
for the most part, I mean, there's different plays that I'll play. Like I played Tesla earnings back in January, and I held a swing on that for like 3 weeks because it kept paying and it kept consolidating and then going higher. So I was in that trade for 3 weeks, which I was kind of annoyed about because I was like, I just want to cut this position. So I stopped looking at my open P&L daily because it definitely has some impact on that. But for the most part, I'm in and out of trades very quickly. I'm trading momentum, couple thousand shares in, couple thousand shares out within, sometimes down to like a second, most usually up to like a minute or two. But I mainly focus on front side momentum. But what we've been seeing a lot of lately that I think I've been doing well to recognize is like even on EDBL this morning, we saw multiple times it tried to reject like that candle at 10:02, and then there was
if you want, I could share my screen, or you could share your screen and just kind of show it. Might be easier for playback for anyone watching.
Yeah, I can share my screen. We've got Warrior Chat up there. Anyways, so yeah, this is my layout. Probably looks familiar enough. I've got Thinkorswim here. So I use Thinkorswim and DOS. I had used Thinkorswim only for the first like 3 years. And I started using DOS just a couple months ago. So my order entry and level 2 are DOS, and then my time and sales are DOS.
How come the switch? Just faster execution?
So it's not that it's faster execution, but the level 2 is much more usable because the level 2 on Thinkorswim, it's just a gradient of blue. And I also don't totally trust that it shows all the information.
There.
Yeah, but like I've got my halt levels on the DOS level 2. The big change is on DOS, on the time and sales, it actually shows different colors, like white for between the spread, light red for at the bid, light green for at the ask, dark red for below the bid. So it gives me a much better picture of the direction and not just what's being executed. And so over time, as I see moves happening and I've got my eye on time and sales in level 2, I'll see a burst of something on time and sales that just kind of becomes pattern recognition. I'm like, I've seen this before instinctually. I kind of know what it means, and it's been helping me to get better entries and exits. But going back to the point I was making on charts and like what I've been trading, very frequently lately, I feel like we've been seeing these types of moves that maybe we'll have a move higher, we have a big rejection, and then you see this rejection completely get reversed. And
Yeah.
then we retest highs. I've been finding that stocks really like to test levels lately. But this candle right here is like the main candle that I'm looking for lately. It's basically a bear trap. We've got a stock kind of moving up. It tries to reject, it bounces back in, it's holding 9 EMA. And then finally it tries to break down again here. And I don't know if you were watching this, but it went from 403 up to 420 something in an instant. And
Yeah, it was quick. I was watching that exact candle.
yeah, so that's what I look for. And I got in late, actually. I got in at 424 for the move that went into the 450s. But like as soon as I see that attempt at a move downward being bought up, I'll get in. Like hopefully around like 410, 415 in this instance. I got in a little bit late there, but usually when we see that happen, topping tails kind of scare some people off, but lately I've been looking at them like this is a really obvious spot for anybody short to stop out, especially
Yeah.
with that type of speed back to the upside. So I think that's why we see those types of moves. And that was a nice one. So through this move and then through, same thing happened here, attempt downward, bought up hard. I got myself up 300 through those moves, and then through this one, I gave it all back. So
Yeah, I know that.
yeah, you know, just trying to hit the good ones and then just stop and avoid the bad ones. That's the hard part.
Stopping early almost is half the key, where if you're up, let's say, you know, I don't know, 5-10% based on average size or so, and it, which is usually a pretty okay green day, it's like sometimes just worth calling it, because
Yeah,
holding profits is so difficult right now, I've found, at least for me.
yeah. I take profits really pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And that's been something that's been helping me out too. So one of the guys in the chat yesterday said something that I've been thinking a lot lately, and it was no dip, no trade. So like this candle, they're pushing up on the level, but I'm definitely not going to take a position here hoping that it breaks that level. If it dips and reclaims, I will definitely take that trade and I'll scale out into profit. And then if it holds the next levels, I can always just add back.
Right.
So that's been helping me stay a lot safer lately.
Yeah, I get that philosophy. You, like you said earlier, you kind of want those bear traps first, and then you get on. I know Toby and I were talking about, you almost want to be trading setups really soon, getting aggressive, buying that breakout, but then then basically walking away. And those original pullbacks are basically garbage nowadays, is what it feels like. You look for that classic 90 May pullback, and that's when you get flushed on. You got to get in soon.
Yeah. Well, and one other thing that's been helping me is we've been seeing a lot of choppiness on the 1 minute chart. Like you have a really nice move like this, and then it goes from 465 back down to 440, and then 435, and then back up 20 cents. So it's like, how do you trade this? But
Yeah,
I've been keeping the 5 and the 15-minute charts open. I've always had the 5-minute chart up, but I've added the 15-minute just to really help understand, like, what is the overall trend that we're in? Are we still in a place that makes sense overall to be buying on a 1 minute chart? Are we still kind of like trending upwards? And right now it looks like no. But I think that's been something that's been helping me lately too.
Yeah, I've noticed as traders typically evolve, they do tend to keep the larger time frames more in mind than the past, or even not even, well, yeah, time frames for sure, but sometimes what's the general macro theme going on right now? You know, is it an AI play? Or, I mean, lately we've been having a lot of pharmaceuticals like back to back. So I always feel like with biotechs, it's a little bit, I don't know, they're like one hit wonders, you know, they pop up that one day, but
for
usually
sure.
fade.
They're not
So
investments.
no, I could never trade multi-day biotechs is just something I never even bothered with.
Yeah,
If it's like an AI play or something like that, sure, maybe a
right.
multi-day.
Yeah, you have to be really aware of what you're trading, and especially with biotech, I see them do offerings all the time.
Mhm.
They make money whenever they have a drug that's like successful, they make money. But for every one of those, there are so many others that they're testing and researching that never make it to making them money. So they need to do offerings to be able to
Yeah.
like keep their company afloat.
Yeah,
So
I'm happy
it's
you bring that up.
valuable.
It's again, that's a perfect macro analysis. That's the bigger picture. Like, what is a biotech? It's a company that's spending a bunch of money on research. How do they actually make money? Well, they're a public company for a reason, to raise capital. So it's like you kind of understand the philosophy behind it, as opposed to maybe a more traditional stock or company there. Maybe not trying to dilute 24/7, but
Right. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, you just
it's
got to be careful. You got to know what you're trading. And
yeah.
each stock I find is a special little snowflake, likes to be traded in its own way.
Is there a specific price range you're usually looking for, or float, or anything specific that gets you really excited about a company or a top gainer?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. I usually do really well in like the 3 to 10 to $15 range or so.
Yeah.
Um, and almost the lower the float, the better to an extent.
Mm.
Once you get under 1 million float, it can start to get really choppy because especially when you're cheaper like that, all it takes is really like one or two bigger players to really affect the price.
Yeah.
But like under 10 million float, ideal. Like 1 to 10 million is probably my preferred range. But I'll trade up to like 25. Like I did really, really well on AMAM on Monday, and that's like a 38, 39 million float.
Yeah.
So that's something though that took a long time to figure out, was that the float, or just like how much the float really does affect how a price moves, and like the potential for certain things to happen. Like on higher floats, I notice that they tend to knife more than a lower float, just because there's probably more shares available to send orders through and short and do that. So it's just kind of being aware of like what could happen. And with the larger floats also, I tend to notice that they continue in whatever direction they're going for longer.
Yeah, that's true. They do trend a little bit longer. AMAM is a perfect example of that. I'll actually share my screen just so anyone can see these tickers, or in post recording. It's always interesting to review without having to pull it up. Can you guys
Yeah.
see?
Yep.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, so AM, classic example where there's just a long trend. It's a bit more of a mid cap, well, especially at this point, it wasn't originally. But yeah, 38 million shares
Right.
outstanding. While EDBL is right around 2 million shares outstanding, and their float is even less. Definitely a bit of a tricky ticker. Toby, do you have, or yeah, sorry, Danny, but if Toby, you have any questions? I know you're a little quiet right now. I
I'm
don't
just
want
listening. I'm half asleep anyway, so.
to. Yeah, that's actually because Danny is on the West Coast. We learned I'm right now in Berlin, and then Toby
Oh.
is in Southeast Asia. So it's or
Yeah, it's 12:30 at night here.
yeah, so it's crazy how we have all these different time zones. And I think because Toby and I are more east, it makes us trade pre-market. So I sometimes do my best trading. Actually, I do have my statistics for my best trading is literally at from 7 to 8. And then from there, all my P&L goes down, down, down. So you're kind of getting up with the market, or, you're probably most tuned in probably around like 9:45, 10, 10:30, when I'm usually like, all right, I gotta call it.
Yeah. And it goes through cycles. Like right now we've been seeing the open has been trash, and we've been seeing some
Yeah.
good moves happening around like 10:30, 11. I think on Monday, the bigger move on AM happened at like 9:30, 9:45, or 12:30, 12:45. So it's kind of funny to think about. Like, I know Ross gets out of the market around like 10:30 a.m. his time. I'm trying to do the same. I try to get out to the gym, not spend too much time in the market. But last year I was in Italy in the spring, and I was trading. I would go do my stuff in the morning, whatever I wanted to do, go to the gym, come back in, take like 2 hours in the afternoon to trade, and then go back out. And that was pretty nice. So on European hours, it's not too bad. Southeast East Asia, though.
That's heavy. Yeah, with Europe, it's actually quite nice. In the morning, it's like 2 different work phases. In the morning, you can do whatever you want. And then after lunch, I always do like a midday workout, then have lunch, shower, and then basically at 1 p.m. till about like 4, I'll be trading. So it's like from 7 to 10.
Right.
And then it's really good. I'll stick around a bit longer. But you'll see that basically at 7 is really where I'm making most of my money. And then at 8, it goes lower and then lower and lower. And then I usually stop trading around 10:30.
That's Eastern time?
Yeah, so this is based on Eastern time, exactly.
Interesting.
So yeah, the classic New York Stock Exchange hours, but in my time, this would be like 1 p.m., 2 p.m., 3 p.m., 4, 5.
Right.
Yeah, that's interesting.
My results, time-wise, have always been really interesting and odd.
Like time of day, or like how
Yeah.
long hold a ticker? Okay.
No, like time of day. I'm looking at it now, and I do see, at least this year, I've made the majority of my money, like a solid majority, between 9 and 10. But all the way up until like 1 p.m. Eastern, I have a good chunk of money, and then from 1 to 3, I'm slightly red, and then at 4, I'm a little bit green again. But my stats have always been like that, just kind of not super typical, because I think especially with trading momentum strategy, a lot of people would find that they make pretty much everything in the first hour or so.
Yeah, that's typically what you would expect. For me, I've kind of noticed that I'm just more attentive in the beginning, and then like I definitely get more fatigue by the end of the day. I'm going to be in on the East Coast again pretty soon for a bit, and I'm actually kind of looking forward to see how I'm going to trade in that situation where the first thing I do in the day is trade, as opposed to one of the last things that I do in the day. And that's even exaggerated even more by Toby, like super last thing. But you always take naps then, right? You like pretty much have to.
Yeah, I try to take a little nap. That's like part of my pre-market routine. And it's not that bad. Market opens for me at 7 p.m. So I'm just, 12 hours difference.
That is
7
insane.
p.m. is not too bad if you're not going to stick around for too long, at least.
It's not bad at all. And I try to finish around 10:30, but lately I've been screwing up and getting red, so I've been hanging out until 5 o'clock in the morning trying to dig out a hole.
Yeah, that's the tough part. I've definitely been noticing less is more in this type of market.
Like, without a question,
yeah.
There's definitely a question here that I'm curious about as well. And Jim in the Discord was saying earlier where, it's a red day today after a nice long green streak. And somebody was like, have you sized down? And he's like, well, I try to size up over time. Then I have a big red day. Then I size down. Then I start sizing up again. Then I have a big red day and I size down again. And it's like this vicious cycle. And I think every trader has been in that cycle for at least a bit, if not still stuck in that cycle. Do you have any feedback on breaking out of that cycle?
Yeah.
Or just,
I I can
I
definitely
mean, you
talk
could
about
share your
that.
size or anything you want to
Sure.
share that might be insightful. Because I
Yeah.
personally also don't really know your size. Maybe other people don't either.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I feel very qualified to talk about this. I've been through this many times. Um, and it's funny talking with one of the other guys at Warrior. His name is Jess, and we both kind of joke about this. Everyone asks us, like, what was your aha moment? And both of us are like, we haven't had it yet. Jess has been trading for like 10 years.
Yeah.
I've seen him have $60,000 green days, and both of us are like, I don't know what you're talking about. It's mostly, we joke that it's mostly just like sucking less over time.
Yeah.
Um, you make certain mistakes until it hurts too much to keep doing it, and then you make a change, and then it'll probably pop back up again at some point, but hopefully you've adjusted something so that the next time it doesn't happen quite as bad, or the space between it is bigger. But like in the fall, one of the reasons I had such a hard year last year, I had 3 red months in a row, which was the first time I'd ever happened.
Those are brutal. Brutal.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's so discouraging. It was
Yeah.
September, October, November. And that was one of the points I was referring to, that like sometimes it's necessary to figure out what are you doing wrong and how do you need to change your trading to get past that, and hopefully have it not happen again, or like I was just saying, less frequency or less extent. But as far as like the sizing, I'm kind of working on sizing up right now too, mostly because I've been having such consistent results with how I've been trading lately. I hope that I'm not going to end up having a bigger red day at some point. But I think that the idea of like, you're having a lot of consistency and then you just have one bigger red day that kind of blows out, hopefully not all, but maybe some of that. I don't know that it's the best thing to do to just cut down share size right after that. It can definitely help take some of the emotion out of trading if you just had a big loss. But if you've been having a lot of consistency and it's just this one bigger day that takes away a lot of that profit, it's not that you're doing all of those other days wrong. Like that was a good stretch. I think the more important thing to focus on would be like, what went wrong that specific day? Like, did you get emotionally triggered and just keep trading way past when you knew you should have? One of the things that I've worked on most in the last 6 months to get out of that drawdown and now to what I'm doing now is recognizing what kind of day we're having, like before I'm down $1,000 on the day. So like today is not a good day. I went from up 30 to down 300 to up 330 to down 400, and now I'm up 20. So
Right.
I'm not going to keep trading. I know that there's low quality moves in the market right now, and if I keep trading, I'm probably like, how much more would I make on these types of moves is one thing, but it's just a waste of time and energy for me. And I know that if I get sucked into something and I go 10 or 20 or $30 red, I'm going to want to be green again. And then I'll be here an hour or two later, like red 300, like I should have just walked away.
Yeah.
So that has been that's taken a lot of my attention on something that I needed to work on. And I'm guessing that might kind of sound familiar to some people if you're having those same issues. Like September, or no, it was August last year. I had a really, really solid first week of August. I was up like $11,000 with finally some new momentum that we had found. And then I had like a $9,000 red day the next week.
Yeah.
And that's kind of when that process started. And I remember on that day, I just didn't care. I was like, I kept losing loss after loss, like 1,000 here, 1,000 there. And you just can't let that happen. It's not worth it. It's not that important. Like, just walk away. The market will be here the next day. Try to figure out how to stop before you get to that point. But then as far as like share size, I'm mostly working with like 1,500 to 2,500 share positions sometimes a little bigger than that. It depends on what I'm seeing, and like I was talking about earlier, each stock likes to trade how it likes to trade, and am I hitting this stock well? And then maybe I want to take some bigger size on another move or two, or like, especially on those false breakdowns on EDBL, that's a move that I recognize that I usually do really well on.
Yeah.
So like I might want to take that with like 3,000 shares or something like that. So there's a lot that goes into it, but it's all just a long process of like generally sucking less.
Yeah, I like that you say that. It definitely makes sense to me, because when I think about sizing down after a red day or something, I'm like, that's not the right thing to do, because if I size down, I'll get comfortable. And then when I size back up and I'll be uncomfortable, and it'll be hell. So I need to get used to whatever size I'm doing and just understand that it's something else. Like basically what you said, sometimes you're in a red state of mind, and then you just start digging yourself a really deep hole, and understanding what state of mind you're in is so critical. So when I'm red on the day, my main focus is just having like a quick base hit, or it doesn't have to be quick, but just getting a little bit of green momentum back in my head in my running P&L. So hopefully I can crawl out of that red state of mind, because it's a dangerous place to be.
Yeah, you make a really good point there, and that's something that I had to get out of last fall, was that red state of mind. And we have a guy in our chat, his name is Manoli, very successful, very good at trading. And one of the things he said to me when I was just having like red day after red day, he was like, are you starting the day red, or are you going green to red? And I was like, most of the days I think I'm green, and then I go red. And then it's the simplest thing you could say or think. It's hard to do, but he was like, then just stop when you're green. And it doesn't matter how green you are. Like if you're up $100, just lock in $100 green day, and then do it again the next day, do it a couple more times. And then all of a sudden you get a lot more confidence back, and you can do a lot more with that, with a confidence mindset than a red mindset.
Yeah, I might actually have to do that a bit more aggressively, because I definitely subscribe to locking in the green days. Because I used to, I used to be up $1,000, let's say, and then I would spend the next 3 hours hitting max loss. And I did that. Yeah. I did that once this year, 5 Mondays in a row. And I thought I was going to throw my laptop out the window. I've never been so like, I'm pretty relaxed. When I used to live stream, people were always like, Alex, I don't know how you're so relaxed. And like, that's definitely something that's like my personality. But I was just so annoyed. I was like, again, are you kidding me? Where you just get super frustrated with yourself. So I couldn't agree anymore. Like, I think it's worth locking in the profits and walking away, because that experience just makes you so mad. And then you probably spend the next week just being like emotionally a little bit more sensitive, which will have so many ripple effects. And if you wanted to make more money, then just, with the confidence, increase size. And you said this in actually Ross Cameron's video, like if you want to make more money, reduce basically the errors, like the bad trades, and just size more in general. Don't trade, or don't do all that other funny stuff. Yeah,
I think that's one of the things that's been doing the best for me lately, is that thought is like, if I wanted to make more money today, I should have taken bigger size on the setups that I knew were good, and I should have tried to figure out how to avoid some of those losses. So like going back and looking at, were there other signs that maybe I could have avoided? Like on EDBL today, going from up 300 to down 400 and now back to just -60 on it, there were signs for sure. I kept seeing this bid popping up, just like through price action. There was like a 10 or 15,000 share bid that just kept popping up. And then there was also on the ask, like 10 or 15,000 shares popping up here and there. And they would just like come in and out. And whenever I see stuff like that, I'm like, I know that someone's messing around in this. And you don't know where they're going to slam you and to which direction, but someone is in here playing games. And I just stayed in it too long. I should have gotten out when I was more green on it. But, it's not the worst mistake today that I made, as far as mistakes go, and I'll live.
Here's a question. Your friend who said you just get green. I'm not sure if you said the name or not. Just get green and get out. Is because I try to do that too sometimes, but then I'm like, well, okay, if my max is, let's say 5% based on my average size, let me get green, get out when I hit that, 5%. And then I'll be at like, let's say it's, my average size is, I don't know, let's just say $1,000. And then I'm at, 5%. So when I hit that, I don't know, I'm up like $400. 5%, my average size is $10,000. So I'm up $400. And then I'm like, well, I only need $100 more. And then I could, call it. And then I'm already kind of pulling back from there. So is it like a profit target? Is it 200, 400, 5,000? Because I know with the get green, get out, sometimes we're like, okay, well, we're only up $150. Then it doesn't really matter. I got to keep trading. So I think that's where I have some difficulties with sometimes. Or what? Like,
I agree. Yeah, I agree with that. It can be difficult. One thing that I started doing probably around November when I was sick of seeing red days was I have been tracking my days every single day. I have an Excel spreadsheet going back like 3 years, and I would track my daily profit every single day. And I stopped doing that. And I hid my account value number. And so like, I don't know if my account is at 39,950 and I want to make another $50 that day, which is irrelevant. And people ask me this in Warrior when I'm teaching too, is they're like, do you have a daily goal? And I'm like, yeah, kind of, but like, if the market isn't there, it doesn't matter. It's not relevant. So that's one thing that's been really helpful for me, is just really internalizing that and going back to what I was saying before about recognizing what kind of day we're in. Like at this point, I know what kind of moves I'm looking for, and I've gotten a lot better at just not trading if I don't see that stuff. And that's been really helpful. But then as far as like profit, I'm always aware of my profit and loss on each ticker and like general running profit on the day. I don't know what my account value is. It doesn't matter. Like I have enough in my account to buy as many shares of whatever type of move I'm usually looking at. So the account value doesn't matter. But also when you were talking there, it made me think it's interesting to me that you position size based on the dollar amount of your position. Because it's not something I've done before. I think about how much risk I'm taking, I guess, with like, I'm taking a 3,000 share position here. It has potential to drop a few cents, but I think the potential to the upside is much bigger, so I'll take the position. But I mostly just think in share size and not position size. I don't know that either one is right or wrong. Just something interesting that I've noticed.
No, it's always good to, cherry or like understand how other people think. That's the whole point we're doing these podcasts, and it's always interesting to explore these topics. Actually, talking about kind of mindset and way people think about things, I think Toby has some of the craziest trading mindsets I've ever seen, because I don't know if this goes back, I don't know if you know, but Toby is a Olympic medalist with, what is it, the skiing, but what was it called on the moguls, downhill skiing freestyle? Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute.
Freestyle mogul skiing.
Oh, freestyle cool. Mogul. Yeah, it's super crazy. And I think Toby really brings in his, I don't know, athlete mentality into the trading, because he's had some insane drawdowns. Like in the day, he'll go, I don't know if it's max loss or where your max loss is per se, but you'll have these just insane red days, and then he'll trade another 150 trades and he'll get out of these holes where I'm like, I would have gotten a heart attack, So Toby, do you want to explore some of that or share some of like how you think about getting out? And is it even healthy? I know you've been saying, like,
honestly, is it a healthy relationship? Or
I think, honestly, it's not something that's good. I mean, it's probably going to be something that will be a hindrance in the future. So I'm trying to get out of that habit. Actually, I get myself red, get myself more red, and I'm like, well, I've gotten out so many times that I feel like, okay, if I keep going, maybe I'll be able to get out of this one too, and it's going to bite me in the butt one day. But I definitely think that it's important to start. I need to start having a max loss. I kind of never really had one. It's just should be here, and the next day I'll tell myself that's where it should have been. And then I'll get myself lazy red again and be like, well, there's only two choices. Am I going to be this deep red today, or am I going to try to work my way out of it again?
Yeah, that's really interesting that you bring that up, because I have had very similar results, to the point that people in the chat were like, you just needed to start your day red and then go from there. But yeah, I've crawled out of like $3,000 drawdowns back up to flat or green in the day before. It sucks. I hate when that happens. I've gotten so much better now at like not doing that first, and like most of the time just going up rather than starting in the hole. But yeah, people used to joke that I needed to start in the hole in order to have a good day. It's interesting that you bring up the athlete mindset with that. I wasn't in the Olympics. I was just off of the Olympic trials cut in swimming. I don't know if it has to do with athletics or what.
I did it already. You're saying like, well, I don't want to, if I go red, I don't want to finish the day red, even though it's a small red. You go back to green. That's kind of the mentality I take every day. It's like, doesn't matter if it's a big green day at this point. I just don't want to see a red number on my P&L at the end of the day.
Right, exactly. We should just start marking on the calendar, whether you're green or red, just put the color green. It probably stop me.
We'll add that.
Just an option. Are you easily triggered by red days? If so, you can change the red day to a green color.
Have like a survey when people sign up. Yeah. Well, how do you feel about max loss days, Danny? Do you have them now in place, or
no? No, definitely not. So like I was saying earlier, I always try to recognize what kind of day I'm trading. And like on Friday was a tough day for me. I got myself down to negative 900, and I just kept taking paper cuts. And but then I got like one nice trade, and that made back a couple hundred. And then like another one. And then I went to the gym when I was sitting at like negative 200. I got back from the gym, and I hit 2 decent trades to get myself into the green. So
that's a big break you took. I don't know if I could do that.
Yeah. Well, I came back and I just popped back in chat, and I was like, is anything moving? And someone was like, yeah, this is kind of moving. And I just got 2 decent trades on it, and that was what it took. But I know that I have that background of being able to claw out of really big holes sometimes. And so I trust myself. My trading stats support that. If that basically I can trust myself. If I see something that I think is looking right, I'll trade it, because more often than not, I'm able to do well on it. So I don't have a max loss in place. I'm just always trying to consider like, oof, I'm down 300. That's pretty much fine, but like, it's not a good signal. If I'm red on the day, I always have to be like, it's probably not that good of a day. If I'm red 500, 700, then I'm definitely like, I really probably need to stop now, or like change what I'm doing, or find something different. One thing that I did do differently is not necessarily like a max loss per ticker, but I've gotten a lot better at moving on from a ticker if I just take a couple losses on it. And that's been helpful. Yeah,
wow, I agree with that so much. I mean, there's some tickers that you just do not mesh with. And the more you trade it, the more red you get on it. It's insane. And once you realize that, you just, walk away from it super soon. But it usually, for me, it usually takes like a couple of red trades, and I'll be down like 2, 3, 4, 500 on it. And then I'm like, all right, I got to walk away. But then it's like in this market, sometimes there's nothing to walk away to. So
right.
Yeah.
You got to be really careful. Yeah. Well, that was SHPH for me in September. That was, so I was red like 8,000 in September. SHPH was like 7,300 of it. So
Hmm.
I kind of learned that lesson at that point, hopefully.
That was an IPO, no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I traded it day after day, lost on it day after day. I just couldn't figure it out. And I just kept trading it.
Yeah. That's tough because it's like, in a way, trading is all about self-mastery and like discipline and consistency and, trying to do it till you figure it out. But then at the same time, there's certain situations like tickers that you don't mesh with that you have to just stop trading it, which kind of goes against the whole mindset of how to become a successful trader to begin with. So
yeah, right. Is like stop trading these when you're going red on them.
yeah, which is tough. And I think I personally struggle with that a lot. Like this whole, and I don't know how much longer we have here. We always try to keep these under an hour, but it's difficult. But I guess to finish my thought, one thing that and the reason I'm struggling so much, I think, with these two strategies is because like I know in my mind that if I just stick with it, I'll probably figure it out. And that's the whole point. That's how I figured out this first strategy, right? Frontside momentum, watched a lot of stuff. But I think with two strategies, I think you start tripping over yourself even more. And it's, I don't know, it's tough because like deep inside, you can figure it out. And if you just focus on one thing, you can probably do it. I know Jack Kellogg, I don't know if you know him. He's also a trader that with Tim Sykes, and he's gotten a lot of publicity recently. I watched one of a video from Clover Trading where there's like a group of traders, and he was saying he's like infamous for trading all sorts of setups and patterns, and they always joke that he's doing a really good job at it. And I would like to get to that level, but maybe I'm just, I'm not there yet. So I still need to perfect this one strategy first. I think I've had that kind of realization.
I think about that too. Like it would be cool to be good at day trading, fast momentum. It would be cool to be like really good at swing trading too, because then you don't have to put quite as much like minute to minute focus on it. But you only need to be good at one strategy to make a living in the market, really.
Yeah.
And I try to think about that too.
Nice. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Do you ever have the thought of like, what do you do with all your cash sitting around? I think that's a thought that I have sometimes.
Yeah. As far as like in checking account or
no, well, kind of in your trading account, because in a way, like you're only using a very small portion of your trading account. At least I am. And then I'm like, what do I do with the rest? And that's why I was trying to get into swing trading so hard.
I think about that. Yeah, I would. Well, I contributed to my Roth, so there's 6,000. Yeah, you try to find things that are good to do with it that will be like beneficial for you. Right now, my main goal with my main trading account is just keep growing it because it's not that big. It's a little under 60,000, I think. I don't max it out at all. Like I was saying, I took a 3,000 share position on a $4 stock. So yeah, what do I do with the rest? I don't know. Got to figure that out. Some of it goes to taxes. I'd like to start day trading in a Roth once I feel a little more comfortable that I have like plenty in my just liquid account. But mostly I just think of it as a tool, like how big or how effective is my tool. And I guess I could put it into longer term stuff and just hold it, thinking that the market's going to go up a few percent in the year. But I don't know. Yeah, I haven't given a lot of thought to that before.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I think I've been thinking about it, but I think that thinking about it has messed me up a lot. And now I just remember a thought that I had a friend, or he's still my friend, but I had a friend say, he was like, sometimes it's not so much about always putting your capital work. Sometimes just knowing you have, let's say, 100,000 in the bank, the peace of mind that gives you is very powerful. And I think I might have to maybe accept that a little bit more and view it as that, because I've been trying to force something that has really been messing me up and has taken away my peace of mind a little bit. At
Yeah.
least that's how I feel personally right now. So,
Yeah, you can't put a price on peace of mind. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
yeah.
Especially when it relates to trading.
Amen. It's so important to have your whole life kind of a little bit more healthy
Yeah.
when it comes to trading. You can't be super volatile.
There's a really good book that I found maybe 2 years ago that I really liked that's not related to trading, but that talks about that topic basically. Pretty much the idea of getting your life into either a positive or a negative spiral. The book is called The Happiness Advantage by Sean Acor.
Yeah.
Did you say you've heard of that, or?
Yes, I've definitely seen this, but I don't think I've read it. Otherwise, I feel like it would.
Yeah. I just listened to it on Audible, and I thought it was really good. There's screen sharing. Yeah. I thought it was really good and helpful for just mindset. You can get a lot of things in your life going in a nice positive spiral, and it really helps take some stress away from everything else. The less stressed you are when you're trading, the better.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. You know, if you're agitated or something's going on, for me, when I was traveling a lot, I was, oh man, it was brutal. It would instantly mess up my trading. So yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think that's a really good point. Maybe I'll have to read this book and take a chill pill because I don't know what it is. Ever since the year started, I've been a little bit higher strung, and I don't know, a little bit more reactive. Maybe it's because I'm on a little bit of like a plateau that I'm waiting to break out, trying so hard to break out from that plateau that I'm actually becoming my own worst enemy.
It's just like a stock chart. You're just waiting to break that flat top.
Yeah. Toby's good at that. Like, cause Toby, wait, Danny, how many trades do you do on average per day? When we could pretty much wrap
it's hard to say. Like, I would probably say on average like 50.
Yeah, it's up there for sure.
Yeah, it used to be worse. Believe
Toby,
it or not.
Well, my long
Toby
day
does like
easily
200, 300.
Yeah,
like,
I've been there.
But I'm also like my good days, honestly, my easy days, my stress-free days, and I need to get back into that too. When I was having a lot of green days in a row, is somewhere like around 50, 60 trades a day.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Well, and the reason I bring that up is because you can see like the like price action in Toby's running P&L. Like you have the flags, you have everything. It's so crazy. Crazy.
Yeah, it just mirrors what the stocks are doing.
In a way.
Like yesterday I was 32, Monday I was 107, but Monday was also a really good day. So it's hard to say. I basically trust myself to take a trade if I think I see a trade. And sometimes that ends up being more, sometimes it's less. It just depends.
I like that point, and you said it a little bit earlier, where like you look at your stats and you're like, well, I'm consistently profitable. I know what I'm doing. So if you see a setup later on, even if it's not at like 10 o'clock or the classic trading time, you're like, you have conviction and you trade it. And I think sometimes I don't do that, where I see great setup and I'm like, well, it's not X time, and I don't trade it, and I get a little bit of FOMO from that because I'm like, well, that was a perfect setup, and I knew it was a perfect setup.
I used to get so triggered from that, and especially being with Thinkorswim. We touched on this real briefly, why I'm using DOS, but with Thinkorswim, I started moving just to market orders because I found that I would be so much more triggered if I saw the trade and missed it because I tried to buy the ask or something like that and I didn't get filled. I would way rather get filled at this general area and be able to take profit up here than just miss the trade when I saw it happening.
Yeah.
So I actually just use market orders.
That's
how I am.
That's a good idea.
Only market order.
Yeah. I think being on a free commission broker, or at least non-direct access, I think that might be helpful. Maybe not needed if you have direct access, but I hate missing a trade if I was looking at that trade.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we all can count like how many times we missed the perfect setup because we were too conservative by 1 or 2 cents,
Yeah,
or maybe not
right.
enough, but something in
Yeah,
that direction.
exactly. I don't care about like the specific cent or the specific trigger. I'm just looking at price action and like, I want to be in sort of here. And then I think that's going to happen. I'd much rather have a trade that I'm in go sort of wrong or like have to bail for a few cent loss than just not take it.
Yeah. Yeah. Great point. Danny, as we wrap up the conversation, is there anything maybe you'd want to share with us, or maybe thoughts on game plans going forward? Toby, even if you have thoughts going forward, but yeah, anything you would like to share with our community as your first time on the pod?
Yeah. Happy to be here. I've actually been a lurker for a few years and just started posting a little bit more recently. But as far as like game plan, I'm just trying to do the same thing I've been doing, kind of keep my head down, being safe, trying to make good trades, trying to see things right. It seems to be working for me lately, or at least I seem to be taking the right trades and exits, and avoiding most of the danger. So for whatever reason that's happening, I'm going to try to keep that going and see if I can make some good calls in the chat and hopefully help you guys out too. But it's been nice being here so far.
Nice. I'm happy to hear that. Yeah, it's having a community in general for trading is a necessity. I never really thought about it when I first started, but yeah, it's key, super key.
Yeah.
All right.
I agree with that.
I guess we'll call it here before it gets too late, because I know sometimes they run on really long. So again, thanks for coming in, Danny, and Toby, for, I know it's too late over there, always for you.
Yeah,
so
always happy to talk stocks.
Sounds good.
Yeah, likewise.
Well, you, Danny.
You too.
All right, guys. Hopefully we'll have you back on then soon, and we'll talk in the Discord.
Sounds good. See you guys in there.
All right. Ciao, ciao, guys.